Hi everybody, Dan Illman and Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Thursday, February the 15th, race number 5 at Gulfstream Park. We'll kick off a 50-cent pick 5 wager with these maiden special weights going 7.5 furlongs on the turf. We take a look at this full field. Not an easy game, Mike. 2 first-time starters in this race, 4-year-old first-time starters, mind you, that cost 7 figures and got a long way to go to make back that money.
It's going to be interesting to see how the first-time starters in this race run, Dan, because they're very interesting. The two Pletchers there that they paid tons of money for, both really well-bred horses.
Let's throw up the Timeform U.S. Pace Projector. Several first-time starters in this race that lack pace data. Malibu Springs adds blinkers, has tactical speed, doesn't necessarily need the lead. I wonder if the 1 or B1 is going to revert to the tactics we saw 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 back, where this horse showed big speed.
Might as well try to put him on the lead to see if he can break through and start number 11, Dan, because it didn't work out from off the pace last time.
Black Fury has shown speed on dirt, switching to the turf for the first time. There's a chance this pace could maybe even heat up a little bit. We'll start things off with ORB1. The horse is listed as a first-time gelding for his 11th lifetime start. They tried to rate him last time out. He didn't run very well that day, finishing behind Malibu Springs. I just think Junior Alvarado is going to send this time.
Yeah, they have the rail. You might as well just go to the lead again and just see what happens. You know, it's your he's a great price on the morning line if you can get around that, around that price. I guess it's fair, Dan. I've seen enough of this horse. I didn't love any of his races prior to the last one, and he was bad last time.
He's listed as a first-time gelding. The number 2 Malibu Springs will wear blinkers for the first time. This horse is coming off a useful performance, finishing ahead of 3 of these when wired by a pretty solid horse in Alexis Zorba, who would come back to place in a first-level allowance. That being said, Malibu Springs still had the second-best trip in this race, sitting in the pocket, easing out, and has his chance and is actually going to cut into the margin late.
Yeah, he never looks like he's going to win that. This could be a little bit of a deceptive, if you just look at it on paper, Dan, where it looks like he's making up a lot of ground late. He's not. He was never catching that horse off of a perfect trip. It was a step in the right direction. Maybe there's an argument to be made that if he just runs that race again, he wins here, and he could certainly pull a similar trip.
That was his turf debut, and it was only his 6th lifetime start, so he does have a bit of upside. The 3 is Sword of Honor, one of the 2 Pletcher-trained $1 million babies that are now 4 years old. Sword of Honor sold for $1.7 million overseas. He is a half-brother to a multiple Group 1 stakes winner in France. The dam is a full sister to Highland Reel, who won the Breeders' Cup Turf, so you understand why they spent a lot of money. The question is, where's he been?
Yeah, it's a belated debut, which I guess you don't love to see. This horse has a super strong pedigree, and he seems to be training very well leading up to the debut. I mean, of the 2 Pletcher first-time starters, I'd much prefer this one.
Here's the number 4, Pork Roll. This is a son of Speightstown, making his career debut for Graham Motion. Now, a lot of gaps in this work tab, which have contributed to the delayed debut. The dam was a debut winner, however, and she's a half to a grade 2 stakes winning turf router named Meteor. So maybe not that kind of sexy pedigree that Sword of Honor has, but a solid one.
Yeah, it certainly has a really nice pedigree, this horse. And I don't love the workouts as much as maybe some of the other first-time starters, Dan. And it's not like Motion, tends to get them all cranked up to win first time out, but this horse would hardly be a surprise.
The 5 is Storm Ready, the second of the 2 Pletcher $1 million babies. This one's selling for $1,050,000 as a yearling. The dam won her only start. Storm Ready is a half to a grade 3 winning turf sprinter. The dam is a half to a grade 3 place dirt router. I don't like the fact that we don't have a published work on our current PPs in 15 days.
Yeah, I don't love that either. And just more than anything else, I don't really love this horse's pedigree overall, although it's fine. I mean, there's certainly a decent pedigree here, but I don't know. I'm assuming that they paid this much money for this horse as a yearling because he was really good looking, and now it's just taking him forever to get to the races.
Maybe the 6 Cakes Arrow is going to contribute to this pace. He kind of made a move into the teeth of the running in his 5/8 of a mile debut at Gulfstream Park before tiring. Now he's getting Lasix for the first time. That race produced the horse that beat Malibu Springs in several of these. He was 5th that day, came back to win with an 84 second in a first level with a 79. I'm expecting some speed.
I am too. And listen, I'm gonna be using this horse in this race, and maybe you don't want to get too caught up in paces in 5 furlong turf sprint stand, but that debut, that was a fast pace. It was a competitive pace, and this horse made a 4 wide move to be a part of it around the final turn. He got tired through the stretch, and he finished last. but he did some running in there, and he's got the pedigree to stretch out.
And his trainer, Michael Matz, has much better numbers with second-time starters than with firsters, I would believe. So maybe they had Cakes Arrow out for the experience. Party with Smarty is the number 7, Pennsylvania bred. He's run okay in his 2 turf starts. Recent turf starts. One was going 5/8 off of a little bit of a layoff. He's probably better going a mile, but all in all, Mike, he showed speed. He couldn't go with the 2 favorites. He finishes an even 3rd.
Yeah, and this is on a class drop too, which I just don't love. It's just not the kind of performance that gets me interested in him as he moves into what feels like it's probably a tougher spot, Dan. I mean, I guess we'll see how it all plays out as far as the first-time starters go. I just haven't liked his turf races enough to want to bet him in here.
Black Fury is the number 8, switching to the turf for the first time. He's a son of Handsome Mike. The dam's thrown 1 turf winner from 2 turf runners. This guy's shown some speed. The last race came off of a pretty significant layoff, so you don't want to be too hard for him. And he's earned competitive Beyer speed figures on the dirt. I can see a pretty good trip working out for him. Don't love the turf pedigree, but he's going to be a giant price.
Yeah, he'll be a really big price in this race if he can transfer the dirt form over. And listen, you don't want to bet horses like that at short prices, but at big prices, it's fine to take a shot with them. His turf pedigree is fine. I wouldn't be surprised if he ran well on the surface.
The 9 is Fly Right, who has hit the board in 5 of 7 lifetime starts. A horse that has run competitive Beyer speed figures on the turf. And his last race on synthetic, I guess, was pretty good. He was wired that day, his first start off of a long layoff, and they had him running 9 furlongs. The runner-up came back to win on turf with a 79 Beyer speed figure. This horse can fall into a good trip just off the leaders. I'm not sure if he has sort of an explosive bid, but he fits, and 6-1's fair.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dan. I mean, you feel like that had to be a good fitness builder off the long layoff last time, going 9 furlongs in his prior turf starts, in my opinion, anyway. And obviously, opinions will vary, and maybe you don't even agree with this, but in my opinion, if you're not taking a first-time starter in here, you're taking an experienced horse. This is the one. He's got the best running lines of the experienced horses. Those 2 turf races last year, he ran really well off the layoff and just happened to bump into one of Chad Brown, first-time starter killer in redistricting, who ran him over. His only other turf start last year, 1.25 miles. Castellano is not rating this horse. He's letting him roll up the backstretch, opening a big lead in 46 and change, and he still lasts for second.
He's the horse, again, that's most accomplished on the turf. The horse with perhaps the most upside on turf, other than Cakes Arrow, is the 10 Mount Horeb, going out for trainer Roger Atfield. Sprinted in his debut over the Tapeta at Woodbine. They tried him 2 turns last time out. He finished behind Malibu Springs. I don't think there was really much of an excuse. He sort of tracked the pace in between, dropped down on the rail, didn't have a straw in his path, gave an even finish. But again, the upside is there, and that Beyer at least came back solid.
Exactly. All those things are very true, Dan. We'll see what kind of price he is. I don't know, 5-1. Maybe that's fair. That's kind of your call. I might want a little bit more than that, if only because he wasn't a first-time starter. He already had a race to build off of, and he did get a really good trip in that race without really making his presence felt in the stretch.
Another lousy post position for the 11, Scat 2 Tap, who was one of the horses behind Malibu Springs last time out and was breaking from an outside post position that day, and thus really couldn't get the position that he usually gets in the early stages. Now, Louis Size is a very aggressive rider, and I think he's going to try to get this horse out of the gate a little better.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how it all plays out. I mean, I felt like just having the outside post last time maybe really affected this horse. He got away last from the gate, first of all. So they just sat back off the pace and then tried to let him run through the stretch. And he was never a factor. He's got way more speed than that, but he draws outside again. I mean, I guess they just try to get more aggressive this time because it didn't really work last time from out of it.
Final horse in the body of the field is the 12, Unit Economics, 4-year-old first-time starter trained by Chad Brown. This horse sold twice overseas, one for $154,000 as a weanling, the other time $285,000 as a yearling. There's pedigree here. The dams have to several horses that have placed in stakes races overseas. The third Dan, Phone Chatter, won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of pedigree with this horse. Obviously, it's top connections. It seems, I know, even with post 12, seems pretty unlikely you're going to get the 12-1 morning line, but maybe you will. I mean, I don't know. This wasn't one of the firsts that I loved in this race, Dan, but it's Chad Brown, Klarovich. It's hard to be a surprise.
And the AE to Zaduke is just tough to like because this would be start number 11. And not only is he stretching out in distance, he's stepping way up in class.
Yeah, if this horse gets it, I don't really care. I'm not betting this horse.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Let's take a look at our top picks for race number 5. Fly Right, the number 9, is my third selection. That's your pick. And I think if he goes off anywhere close to his morning line, I think you probably have to use him. I picked Mount Horeb. I was a little surprised that Mount Horeb's shorter on the line than Fly Right. I think that will sort of change as we get closer to post time. But Fly Right, I think, is a solid runner.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with the first-time starters. Maybe he's going to bump into a good one here. I think, again, of the experienced horses, I think he's the horse to beat, and I would certainly take 6-1 on him. The other horse I'm using is the 6 Cakes Air. I'm going to try to get him in there at a big price.
Mike's going 9, 6, 3, and 12. I'm hoping Mount Horeb has a little bit of upside. It's only his third lifetime start. I went 10, 2, 9, and 11. There are a couple of $1 million firsters. There's a Chad first-time starter in this race. So lots going on our Thursday race of the day. Best of luck.